The morning light filtered softly through the gauzy curtains of my bedroom, painting the walls with warm golden hues. The world outside seemed quiet and unhurried, as if it too had decided to embrace the day at its own pace. Thursdays were my favorite kind of day, a day without obligations, where I could breathe, explore, and indulge in the things that brought me peace. I stretched languidly, letting the warmth of the sunlight seep into my skin before finally rising. The familiar hum of the city created a comforting backdrop. The gentle rustle of leaves outside my window, the distant melody of a street musician, and the occasional soft clang of pots and pans from my neighbor's kitchen. For me, these sounds were as soothing as a lullaby, the music of life unfolding. After a light breakfast of toast and fruit, I decided to begin my day with yoga. The studio I frequented was nestled on the second floor of a charming old shop house, its large windows overlooking a serene garden. As I rolled out my mat in the corner of the room, I took a moment to appreciate the tranquil space. The scent of sandalwood lingered in the air, mingling with the faint rustle of bamboo swaying outside. It was the kind of place that invited stillness, where the world seemed to hold its breath. Today's class was a slower, restorative session, perfect for someone like me, who often found herself absorbing the emotions of others. As we moved through the poses, I let my thoughts drift, not clinging to them but letting them float away like clouds. For a Pisces like me, life wasn't about rigid structure or relentless pace. It was about flow, allowing experiences to shape me, finding balance amid the currents. By the time we reached Savasana, I felt light, as though the weight of the week had been gently lifted. My breath was steady, my mind clear, and my heart open. As I rolled up my mat and stepped back into the bustling world outside, I felt a renewed sense of gratitude for the simple beauty of the moment. After class, I wandered into a nearby farmer's market. The vibrant colors of fresh produce and the mingling scents of flowers, spices, and baked goods felt like an invitation to immerse myself in the present. I meandered between the stalls, my woven tote gradually filling with treasures: crisp apples, a loaf of sourdough bread, a jar of wildflower honey, and a bouquet of sunflowers that seemed to radiate joy. At one stall, an elderly woman with kind eyes and a warm smile was selling homemade jams. I struck up a conversation with her, learning about the small orchard she tended with her husband. Her laughter was infectious, and as I walked away with a jar of her apricot preserves, I felt a lingering warmth from our exchange. These fleeting connections, however small, were the threads that wove meaning into my days. Back at home, I set the sunflowers in a vase, their bright yellow petals brightening my kitchen. The space smelled of fresh bread and apples, the remnants of my morning's adventures. I decided to spend the afternoon cooking, something I rarely had the luxury to do without the constraints of time or purpose. I chose a recipe I'd been wanting to try: a creamy pumpkin soup infused with ginger and nutmeg. As I chopped, stirred, and tasted, the familiar rhythm of cooking soothed me. There was something meditative about it, the way each step demanded focus while also allowing room for creativity. For me, cooking wasn't just a means to an end. It was an act of love, a way to nurture myself and those I cared about. When the soup was ready, I ladled it into a bowl, garnishing it with a swirl of cream and a sprinkle of fresh thyme. I carried it to my balcony, where the view, a patch of sky framed by rooftops and treetops, felt like a little piece of heaven. The first spoonful was warm and comforting, the flavors rich but balanced. As I ate, I let my mind wander, savoring not just the meal, but the quiet simplicity of the moment. Later in the afternoon, I decided to indulge in another of my favorite pastimes: dance. The studio I visited was alive with energy, the rhythmic beats of music reverberating through the space. I loved the freedom that dance offered, the way it allowed me to shed the layers of expectation and simply be. As I moved, twirling and stepping to the rhythm, I felt an exhilarating sense of release. For me, dancing wasn't about precision or perfection. It was about joy, about celebrating the sheer aliveness of my body and spirit. The mirrors lining the studio walls reflected not just my movements, but the lightness I felt within. By the time I left, the sun was beginning its descent, casting the city in a golden glow. I walked home with a spring in my step, my heart full from the day's adventures. Solitude for a Pisces wasn't a burden, but a gift, a chance to recharge, to reconnect with oneself, and to find magic in the ordinary. As the evening settled in, I drew a warm bath, adding a handful of lavender salts and lighting a few candles. The soft glow reflected off the water, creating a serene ambiance that felt like a dream. I sank into the tub, the warmth enveloping me, and let out a contented sigh. This was my sanctuary, a place where time seemed to pause and the outside world faded away. My thoughts drifted to Ray. I wondered what he was doing, if he'd enjoyed his day as much as I had mine. Despite our differences, there was something grounding about our connection, something that felt quietly profound. I thought about how he might have reacted to my day, his curious questions, his easy laughter, the way he made even mundane moments feel significant. As I climbed into bed that night, the city outside my window hummed softly, its lights twinkling like distant stars. I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the stillness, for the freedom to explore, and for the quiet beauty of a day spent in my own company. For a Pisces like me, life wasn't about grand gestures or constant excitement. It was about flow, about finding joy in the little things and allowing myself to be fully present. And as I drifted off to sleep, I knew I had found something precious, a sense of wholeness that came not from others, but from within.